Welcome to the latest, the Suffering Meatball Chronicles podcast with your hosts, me, Johnny Epiphone, and my best buddy, Rob Henry.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a lovely day.
Yeah, today we're going to talk about Rush, the Canadian trio that is making a comeback recently with a new drummer, as a matter of fact.
Took me a little while, but I finally got it. Every good rock fan knows this song.
Yes.
Yes,
I remember
Rush.
A friend of mine I worked with at TJ Maxx back in the day. I went to the Battle of the Bands at Woodson because he went to Woodson High School, and they played a version of this that was killer.
They played Working Man, the like school band.
Yeah, his high school band. Yeah, he was a drummer in the high school band. I can't remember his name, but I remember them playing Working Man.
Everybody knows that song if you're a Rush fan. And let's just say that we are inspired to do this episode because Rush is coming back and doing a humongous tour in 2026. And it's called 50 something tour. And I went and checked on Ticketmaster right before we started, and the cheapest ticket I could find was section way in the back, like 403 for $251.
Ouch.
And as you get closer to the stage, yeah, okay, so you want floor seats, $507.
Ooh, still that's less than Taylor Swift, I believe.
And that's for two tickets. So for two tickets, good point, Johnny. Still cheaper than the Swiftie concert, but it's Rush. So, I mean, people are buying these tickets. For two tickets, you would have to pay over $1,000 to go see Rush. I do not see an opening band listed, but we can get to the dates later. I just wanted to bring that up. Is that this is why we're doing this this episode, is because Rush is coming back. After they lost the drummer, Neil Peart. Did I say that right? Because I've been saying Peart all my life. Neil Peart. I think it's announced Peart, but I've been saying Peart all my life, so I'm probably going to say that a couple of times through the episode. He unfortunately passed in January of 2020, a little over 6 years ago, and that was a big hit to the band and big hit to rock music. He was such an icon. This band has been a part of my listening for, since I was in high school, right? Well over 40 years ago. And, I've been fortunate enough to see them a couple of times with the, original lineup. Well, that's all the lineup we knew, right? And they haven't done anything since Neil died. And that's what makes this 2026 tour so special, is they're bringing it back for their fans. They really didn't get a chance to do it on the 50th year of their anniversary. That's why they're calling it 50 something, because they just, I don't know if they couldn't get their act together or by that time Neil had passed. But yes, a great Canadian rock band. A three-piece, a power trio, as we used to call them, with Geddy Lee on vocals, keyboards, and bass, which he kind of pioneered that whole playing bass and keyboards at the same time. Alec Lifeson, guitar, vocals, and it does list him as doing some keyboards. And then Neil Peart on drums, or a percussionist. He elevated the rock drummer to percussionist because he had several gongs behind him. He had 2-inch toms with really long, really long drums with a tiny little head on it, going all the way to the, he at one point He had an electric drum kit behind him, and the drum kit would rotate during certain songs when they got to the new stuff, and he'd literally play electric drums, and then on to the next couple of songs, the drum kit would spin, and he would go back to his acoustic set, which was mammoth. And I'll bring up some pictures while we talk. It's very well documented. And in the 2026 drummer will be Annika Niles, who in her own right is an established musician. And her latest gig, she played with Jeff Beck's live band on a U.S. and European tour in 2022. And
well,
then last
she's
year,
got to be good if she played with Jeff Beck.
Yeah, that's true. She's probably is. Well, I mean, you cannot fill any other percussionist shoes bigger than Neil Peart. You just can't. I mean, we can argue over drummers, but Neil brought that power drums to rock like nobody else. And also he wrote all the lyrics, correct?
Yeah, Neil Peart. He was the lyricist as well.
So not only was he an amazing drummer, he was a great songwriter. They all were, and their song speaks to our generation and generations after, right? Because they were releasing new music up until 2022 or 2012, I believe. And they keep releasing great stuff from the archives.
Oh, yeah.
And cool fact about Rush released its debut album in March 1974. They have 24 gold records, 14 platinum records, 3 multi-platinums records. The band is only third band behind the Beatles and the Rolling Stones for the most consecutive gold or platinum albums by a rock band.
Wow, I did not know that.
So you've got number 1 Beatles, number 2 Rolling Stones, and number 3 Rush. That says a lot. So there are a lot of Rush fans out there. Us being no different than everybody else, caught on in the early 80s and followed them through the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. I kind of walked away for a while because my listener habits got heavier, as people know, by listening to the broadcast. But we were fortunate enough to be at the same show in 1984, not knowing each other. We both went to the show separately. And Johnny, what do you remember about that show? Give us the date, kind of, where you were in life, so forth and so on.
I was still in high school. I was a junior in high school. Or no, maybe it was the beginning of my senior year. Yeah, it would have been the beginning of my senior year, September of 84. And it was at the Cap Center, which is, of course, no more. Or the Capitol Center, its proper name being. And I believe I went with some guys I was in the symphonic band with. Scott Rudge, who was a mighty fine drummer himself, and Rick McMurray. And I can't remember who else went with us, but I definitely went with those guys. And to be honest, I wasn't that big of a fan of Rush back then. But over the years, they've kind of grown on me, and I've learned to tolerate Geddy's vocals, which sometimes are a bit grating at times. Let's be honest.
He is a little nasally at times.
But, the thing about Geddy Lee is, which is not even his real name, what's his real name? Gary Weintraub, I believe. He was the child of Holocaust survivors.
Wow. I may have learned that at some point, but I had forgotten.
Yeah. I mean, respect to to his parents for being able to survive that shit. That's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah,
And
that's
settling in Canada after World War II.
Wow, that's kudos to those folks for surviving such a horrible time in history.
Yes.
And coming in Canada, welcoming those folks in, and becoming part of the Canadian society and producing one of the best bassist keyboard rock player ever. I mean, Geddy, whatever his first name is, I've always known him as Geddy Lee. What an icon when it comes to, rock, progressive, heavy rock, whatever genre you want to put them in, as big as they were, almost as big as the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, as I had mentioned before.
Yeah. Well, what I mainly remember about the show is the fact that when they played Red Barchetta, my friends went wild. They just, they were like, "Oh my God, they're doing Red Barchetta," and they did YYZ. Later on, they did pretty much like all their 80s and late 70s hits. They didn't play anything from the first two albums, I don't think. I could be wrong about that because I'm not as knowledgeable about those first couple albums, Fly By Night and the Rush album with John Rutsey on drums. But I mean, they opened up with Spirit of Radio. And
well, hey, I got a couple of things to say before you go into to the set list, Johnny. We'll get to that. But I just it was a Thursday, September 27th, 1984, like Johnny said, at the Capitol Center at Landover, Maryland. Some places have it listed as Largo. I've always known it as Landover, Maryland. I was about 19 at the time. This was my summer following my graduation from high school, which I have a lot of fond memories of the summer of 84. I paid $13.50 to go see Rush.
The good old days.
It was the good old days. It was the Grace Under Pressure tour, which was their 10th studio recording and was released in April of 84. So the album basically had just dropped. They probably got some airplay. The opening band was Helix, another Canadian power trio, I think. They may have an extra guitar player in there. I don't know. But they had great songs like Rock You and Heavy Metal Love and Make Me Do Anything You Want, the old Helix. Now, I went and looked them up before we started recording, and they are still putting out music. Helix is still a thing. Like, I was never a Helix fan. I do remember them opening. I do remember hearing Rock You by them because that was the big song they were playing on the radio at the time, and they got a lot of FM radio play from that song.
They were a Canadian band as well, correct?
Yeah, Felix? They sure were. Yeah. So they were on that tour in 84. And one of the cool facts, another cool facts about this particular album is it was recorded in La Studio, like so many other Rush albums. Rush originally approached Steve Lillywhite to record Grace Under Pressure, but he went on to do other projects, and the band produced the album themselves with the assistance from Peter Henderson, who had obviously worked with Supertramp, who had previously worked with Supertramp, Split Easy, and Frank Zappa and King Crimson. And those at the time were mega rock bands, right?
Supertramp all over the radio. Lillywhite producing them because he's probably most well known for producing U2's War album and
another great album. Yeah. So, but he went on to do something else, probably U2. Who knows? Somebody in the comments will tell us what happened to that guy. But King Crimson was huge too at that time. The guy played the stick, the bass.
Yeah, Tony Chapman on the stick, and Adrian Belew.
Adrian Belew,
along with Robert Fripp,
who is still touring. Adrian Belew is still touring. But anyway, back to Rush. So Johnny and I were in the building. We saw the same show. I'm pretty sure Mike was there. I'm pretty sure Sean was there, and I'm pretty sure Russell was there. We all went together. I do remember the trip up to the Cap Center. And I do remember the show because the Grace Under Pressure album was, fresh, and everybody liked the new fresh Rush, and boy, they're coming to tour, and we went and saw them, right? I could tell you where I was seated, Johnny, but it doesn't really make a difference, does it?
I was like probably halfway back towards center stage. That's what I remember. I don't have the ticket anymore.
I still have the ticket. I'll put it up so everybody can see. We were in section 1. So we were on the floor, row double D. So we were
you were up there,
35 rows back. Yes, I do remember being on the floor. I think that was one of the first concerts that I'd seen on the floor there at the Cap Center. And again, I paid $13.50 without fees. And we had to stand in line back then.
At the Heck Company.
At the Heck Company. Yeah. We did. We had to stand in line. And it took forever because everybody had to pick their seats while they were standing there. Nobody ever just said, give me 2 random seats.
They'd show you, well, this is what's available.
Yes. And everybody had, and I think $13.50 was like for every place. Like you didn't pay any more to be on the floor than you did up in the seats. Nowadays, I look at these prices of the floor and they're $500, and even in the back, it's $197. But anyway, I'll just leave Ticketmaster alone on this episode because I could go on for hours. But yeah. Rush, 1984. All right, Johnny started the set list with Spirit of the Radio. So go ahead, Johnny. Finish the set list.
Oh, okay. Well, after the Spirit of Radio, they played something from their new album, which was Subdivisions, which was the current FM hit at the time. Then they played The Body Electric, then The Enemy Within, The Weapon, Witch Hunt, New World Man, Between the Wheels, the aforementioned Red Barchetta, Distant Early Warning, also from their most recent album at the time, Red Sector A, which I believe, I'm not sure. I'm very bad about remembering what tracks go to what album. Then they played Closer to the Heart, which was cool because I believe Neil Peart had the tubular bells to do the tubular bell part in that.
Nice.
Yes. Then Kid Gloves. Then YYZ, which is another great track. 2112 Part 2, The Temples of Syrinx, which
great. Dude,
is one of my more favorite Rush tunes.
Yeah, I get the heebie-jeebies just thinking about that song. Many hours of listening to that song.
And then they ended the set with Tom Sawyer, which I have an interesting story about that song. I was just reading this the other day that when they were doing that album, they that song was really problematic in the fact that they said it didn't seem to fit with the rest of the album, and they had problems. They had all sorts of problems. The first problem was they couldn't get a good solo from Alex Lifeson. It just every time they tracked it, it just wasn't working. And also when they finally solved that problem, and then when they went to mix it, they had a huge problem because the computer that ran the mixing board crapped out, and they had to ride all the faders by hand, all the band members on board for riding the faders.
All 48 tracks are like, everybody's got a set of faders, and they're like riding it along the way. Early computer stuff, man. 1984, the thing must have been gigantic. Sucking up as much power.
Because Tom Sawyer was what, 81 or 80?
Let me look. Hold on. I got that right here. Tom Sawyer. I got the discography right here. Let's see. That was Moving Pictures.
Yeah.
Which was Moving Pictures was 81.
Yeah.
81 for Moving Pictures. So lots of hours cruising around in my 75 Malibu Classic named the Taco at the time, listening to Tom Sawyer. 6x9s and boxes in the back seat. All right, well, I stopped you. Yeah, that was the end of the like regular set that they did. They did Tom Sawyer to close the set up.
It ended up being such a good song. They made it the opener of Moving Pictures, and the rest is history, as they say. And then they did 3 songs for their encore. They did Red Lenses, Vital Signs, and then Finding My Way / In the Mood. Now,
And
somewhere in there, you have to be a real Rush fan to know this, because I guess maybe I'm not, because I don't know this. They did play something off the first album, but I don't know what song that was.
Sorry, I could listen to this album all day long, and I just wanted to bring it up. Red Barchetta. A song about a car, really, in essence.
Yes.
That's what it is.
It is.
Right, I'll turn it down, but yeah, great memories. What a show. It's definitely probably top 10, but I say that about every show. Looking back to in 84, it was just another rock show. That was like the prime summer. I saw so many bands back then, and that's what we did. We wasted our money on beer and going to see live music. Whether it was one man with a harmonica or a full rock show with lasers and huge percussion setup and guy playing bass and playing keyboards with his feet at the same time. That summer of 84 was truly amazing time.
Yeah. I mean, there's no denying, whether you're a fan of the band or not, that all 3 musicians in the band were just phenomenal musicians, multi-talented, and very precise in their playing. I mean,
what a great time to be alive, dude.
The only thing I would have to say about that is that I found their interaction with the audience a little lacking at that show.
Oh yeah, it was just 3 ugly white guys on stage standing there. There wasn't a flashy front man with tight leather skin pants on, jumping around.
But that wasn't the point of the band. I mean, it was musicianship.
Right, exactly. There wasn't gigantic Godzilla coming out of the back, and there wasn't some dude in a suit dressed up. You know what I mean? It was the band and a light show, really. Yeah, it's all it was, and it spoke to the musicianship. You're exactly right. They weren't trying to be, the Blue Oyster Cult of the day, or the Iron Maiden of the day, or a Led Zeppelin of the day. They were being Rush. That's who they were.
Yeah.
No doubt. Cool. What a great show.
Another interesting thing about Rush, I might add, is that they were very good friends with UFO, and from having toured with them in the 70s with Michael Schenker.
Yeah, we sure do talk about that guy a lot.
Yes.
And the band UFO. 2 episodes so far, probably mentioned in just about every episode that we do, because Michael Schenker, guitar god. We got to see him this past year.
Anyway, he's like Kevin Bacon, man.
Yeah, he's like the Kevin Bacon of rock music. Yeah, exactly. You can mix him into anything. You're exactly right, Johnny. It all goes back to UFO and Michael Schenker in my eyes. I was fortunate enough to actually catch him a couple more times. after that 84 Capitol Center, what again, legendary show. I saw him 3 years later at the Cap Center on November 30th, 1987, which was the Hold Your Fire tour, which was their 12th studio album. And guess who the opener was?
I don't know.
Take a guess. Macaulay's Shaker Group.
Oh, cool.
I do remember that being a bonus. We were going to see Rush, and there's Michael Schenker. It wasn't a very long set, 45 minutes, 6 songs if at the most. But I do remember hearing anytime. Sorry, I can't sing. I can't sing worth the crap.
Me neither.
I was 22 at the time, and I paid $3 more, $16.50, and I see where I was sitting then. Then I was sitting at section 118, row U. So we were in the very back of the floor. And seat 12. Yeah, section 118. So that was the back. Oh no, actually that was up. What? I want to say it was the very back of the floor, because we were behind the front. We were behind front of house, and I remember having somewhat of an obstructive view. But whatever, it sounded really good back there because you're behind the guy who's mixing the auditorium or the sports arena, right? So it sounded really, really good. I do remember seeing lots of visual stuff going on. And another cool fact about this 87 tour, or a cool fact about the 87 tour, is that Rush used lasers featuring red and green laser beams synthesized to the animated segments on the iconic 3 records from the Hold Your Fire album cover on their video screens. So they came out with Hold Your Fire, and they released 3 different album covers. It wasn't just one set of artwork, it was 3 set of artworks. And they had those 3 images on projection, probably, because there was no LED. It was probably a big projection, couple big projectors. And they had these red and green laser lights that would shoot up into the ceiling of the Capitol Center. And there was some guy fogging out the whole place because the lasers look so much better when there's fog or smoke in the air. You can see him a lot better. I remember being mesmerized. They weren't doing any like images or anything like that. They were just straight laser beams across everybody's head. And it was, they would go back and forth, and sometimes there'd be 1 beam, and sometimes there'd be 6 beams, and sometimes there'd be 20 beams, and they'd be going back and forth. I do remember that because that was the first time I ever saw a laser light show, was at Rush in 87. So that was cool. And probably Mike was there. Probably Scott Carter was there. I don't know. It was so long ago. I do remember being there. I do remember the set. I don't think we really need to go into the set list at all because, they did put out the Hold Your Fire tour. I mean, the Hold Your Fire album, which I can go look at and give you a list rundown of Hold Your Fire. Where is it? Let me just pull it up here. Hold Your Fire. Track 1, Force 10. Track 2, Time Stand Still. Track 3, Open Secrets. Track 4, Second Nature. Track 5, Prime Mover. Track 6, Lock and Key. Track 7, Mission. And then track 8, Turn the Page. Track 9, Tai Shan, and track 10, Holy Water. So what was the big Time Stand Still was the big track. This is the big radio track for Hold Your Fire. So radio friendly back then. But these
Yes.
guys were writing music they wanted to write. They didn't really care about
No,
accolades
they
at
weren't
all.
concerned about radio hits.
No, they
I
weren't.
mean, it was
They
just
were
a
not.
happy accident if it happened.
Okay, so in more recent times, when I say recent times, 14 years ago, Sunday, September 9th, I got to see Rush at Jiffy Lube Live in Bristow, Virginia. That was their Clockwork Angels tour, which I had been out of touch for Rush for a really long time. Because, of course, I went on to be a Lamb of God fan. And and the Clockwork Angels was the 20th studio album. I was 27 at the time. Sorry, 47 at the time. And I paid $56 to sit in the back row of the back toward the back row of the pavilion at Jiffy Lube. But it was sold out. We were packed in there like sardines. It sounded really good. I got a phone call the day before from a gentleman I used to work with, and is no longer with us. His name is Steve Lingo. Great dude, great colleague, wonderful family man. Lost his life to colon cancer. But he was alive then, and we had a good time, and he drove. And I remember the traffic on Wellington Road sucked so bad. We were running late, or he was running late, or whatever the thing was. You know, we didn't have a plan. It was like, hey, I got this extra ticket. Hey, I'm going to come pick you up. I'm like, fantastic. I am ready to go. So he shows up, we take off, we go down Wellington Road, and it seemed like it took us longer to get into the venue and park and get to the seats than it did to watch the show.
Oh, man.
That's how bad traffic sucked. And I live 7 miles, so about 7 miles from the venue. So that was like, whew. And I also remember figuring out all the great Rush music I had missed in the time that I had kind of stepped away from their music, right? I fell in love with the new stuff and the visuals. I fell in love with the songwriting and all the stuff with all the new songs that they did. And I also rekindled my love for all the older songs that we listened to back in the 80s and the early 90s from this band. That's what did it for me. It kind of solidified, hey, you've been a Rush fan for 40 years now. You need to continue to be a Rush fan and support these guys and continue to listen to their music and tell people about the band and their music. I do have a set list. I don't know if you're interested in hearing the set list.
Oh, sure.
All right, cool. Set list. Came out with Subdivisions. Then they did Big Money. Then they did Force 10. Then they did Grand Designs. They did. Then they did Middletown Dreams. Then they did Territories. Then they did The Analog Kid. Then they did The Pass. Then they did Where's My Thing. They did Far Cry. They did Caravan. They did Clockwork Angels. They did The Antichrist or Antichrist. They did Seven Cities of Gold, The Records, Headlong Fight. Then there's this massive drum solo. Then they did Halo Effect, Wish Them Well, The Garden, Dreamline. And then there was an electric drum solo. Just like I said, I did 2 drum solos. Who does that? Nobody did. The Grateful Dead. That's about it. Whatever attempt to do 2 drum solos. Or Godsmack. I've seen Godsmack with 2 drummers. Scully plays drums. They do a massive drum battle. But long before that, Neil Peart, one guy doing 2 drum solos in one show. After the electric drum solo, they did Red Sector A, YYZ, Working Man, Tom Sawyer, and then the 2112 Overture, Temple of the Syrinx, and Grand Finale. And that was it. They didn't do any encores. They did those songs. Bada bing, wow. They were done. Bada bing, they were done. They played for over 2.5 hours. It was amazing. No one was disappointed that there weren't any encores. They just said, here we go. And that was that tour, the Clockwork Angels tour. And it was amazing to be there with Steve Lingo. Spur of the moment. Glad I went. I bought a poster. It's hanging up in the garage. I will take a picture of it, put it on the screen for you all so you can see that I got a poster from that show. And in 2012, I think we had cell phones, but they were crappy and probably had really bad recording devices in them. So I don't have any video that I shot personally of this particular show. So that's it. My three. I would love to go see him again. They are coming to the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. for this 50-somethings tour, October 25th and October 27th. I have reservations. Is this new drummer going to be able to fill the shoes? Probably not. Is she adequate enough? Yes. That's why they picked her, because she's an amazing drummer. Do I want to hear 2/3 of the band? I guess that's better than not hearing them at all. So if you're a Rush fan, you should buy tickets. You should spend your $500, buy a seat down on the floor, and just experience, the great music of Rush.
Yeah, and I think that an interesting fact is that every show that you and I went to was in the fall.
Huh, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, good observation, Johnny. I got another cool fact. On January 4th, 1976, Rush played with Blue Oyster Cult, Ted Nugent, REO Speedwagon, and Leslie West at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. It was called Maryland for the Caress of Steel Tour in 1976. What a show that! Look, if you were old enough to be at that show, just drop us a comment and say, "Hey, I was at that 1976 show," because whoa, REO Speedwagon, Ted Nugent, Blue Oyster Cult, and Rush, and Leslie West of Mountain. I had to bring that fact up. Just blows my mind. It wasn't a festival. It was at a sports arena, and all of those guys played. That was cool.
Yeah, Rush always had good opening acts. One of the times I didn't see them, but I really wanted to, was when they were touring with Marillion in the mid 80s. Because I was a big Marillion fan.
Nice. And it never happened. You just didn't make it.
I don't think they played DC. I think the closest they got was Baltimore. And it was, in high school, it was more of a pain to go to Baltimore for me than it was in late.
Yeah, that was definitely on the other side of the planet back then. We didn't really, we would go into DC, but we really didn't go to a lot of Baltimore shows. That's for sure. All right. Well, that's our Rush memories. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you can catch them on this 50-something tour wherever you're at, because it's going to be worldwide. We're still debating as to whether we should go or not, but it'll be a game day type of decision. But we've definitely seen some really great shows, and appreciate everybody listening.
Yeah, thank you guys and gals.
And gals, yes. And
go get your own damn podcast.
Right on. Get your own damn podcast. Bye, everybody.